Hey guys, my name is Andrew Tran. I am an entrepreneur, filmmaker, business owner, a dad now, so it's been great. I own a few businesses, Redefine Media, Redefine Weddings. We do filmmaking in the commercial space, the wedding space. I host a podcast with my partner Kolby called UNCUT Hawai'i. And yeah, kind of dabble in a bunch of other things, but graduated in 2015 from UH with my BS in biology.
Aloha guys, I'm Kolby Akamu Moser. I am a director, producer, business owner, podcast host, and I graduated from the University of Hawai'i at Mānoa in 2005.
So with UNCUT Hawai'i, we as filmmakers film so many different projects for different clients, and it's always like hitting like a time mark, right? Like, oh, we need a 30-second deliverable, we need a 2-minute deliverable. And we just felt like there were so many great stories that we were cutting out that didn't fit into that time. And so that's why we wanted to call it Uncut, kind of just sit down, share your story, raw and uncut. And naturally for us, we gravitated towards talking with our peers at first, right? And we figured out it was like other entrepreneurs, other creatives, and like people that were just like making moves in the community. And so we really tapped into that and really wanted to share their story, because it was like, we may know someone, but for us to be able to sit down for like 45 minutes to an hour and just be vulnerable and talk story and like, deep dive into a certain topic, it's really amazing. And the goal is to be able to share it and hopefully, like someone listens to it, resonates with it, and like gets inspired to do something.
So my friend Andrew and I, we were dreaming one day. We were having lunch and we were at Merriman's and we were just kind of talking, catching up like we normally do. And when we get together, a lot of times we both are creatives and we have big ideas, we're entrepreneurs. And so we're just kind of putting it out there, like we want to do this and that and this and that. And one of the things was we should create a podcast, because we're filmmakers. We interview so many amazing people around Hawaii and we get all these amazing stories, but we never get to share the whole interview. A lot of times as filmmakers, we have to cut the interview up into just like little snackable bite-sized pieces. Usually it's like a 3-minute video or even less now. But then there's so much wisdom and so much information and so many inspirational things that we've had to cut. So we were like, we should just start a podcast and just put it out there like a long form thing. And we went back to his office at Redefine Media and we kind of just set up a little makeshift podcast studio right then and there. And that was basically the start of it. It was just very organic. It was just an idea. And I would have never known that 2 years later we'd still be doing it, that we would be sponsored by Central Pacific Bank and Hawaiian Airlines and work with amazing brands and speak with so many incredible guests from all around Hawaii that do all kinds of cool things. I think we're up to 70 plus episodes at this point. And so we've interviewed people from literally all over the place that do all kinds of things, from in the restaurant industry, in building a brand, who are artists, who are musicians. And we just get so much from every single person that we interview. And the takeaways have like completely changed our lives, honestly.
So, with everyone in Hawaii, right, we all just love to talk story. Kolby and I, we've had the pleasure of working together for over 10 years now. When I first started, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, let me do some work. Like, please let me intern. I want to shadow and learn as much as I can. So I worked with her at Aria Studios for a little bit, filmed with other great companies and other people, and then she sort of like mentored me like through my whole process and whatnot, and we became close. And so naturally we were at a lunch and we were kind of just like talking story, and then we had a few more of those and we were like, hey, we just love to talk story. Like, I wish we recorded. It was something like, oh, I wish we recorded that. And I was like, let's just start a podcast. Podcasts are kind of like a thing. We all listen to podcasts. We both listened and loved different podcasts. And so we were like, I think we can do it. Let's start our own, right? We have the equipment. We have, the kind of knowledge. We love to talk. Let's just see what we can do. And I think for us, it was my year of execution. I didn't want to be stuck in like analysis paralysis. So I was like, Kolby, let's just do it. Let's go back to my office right now. Let's record and go from there.
So my favorite part is just every guest, there's some kind of takeaway. Like there's some kind of lesson or some inspirational story that we take away and we actually implement in our everyday lives. like life hacks or, you know, things that people say about how they improved or changed, transformed their life. And it feels selfish sometimes. Like we get to talk, have these amazing conversations, you know, and we're getting so much from it. But the fact that we get to elevate their story and hopefully touch others has been the best part.
Kolby and I always say this after our recordings, and it's like almost selfishly, like we feel so fulfilled after doing it, because you know we're listening to these amazing stories and we always feel so inspired. I think a common thread for like all the stories that we kind of, you know, get to, all the people we get to talk with and connect with, it's like doing something that's uncomfortable and like taking that leap to do it and committing to it. And I think one of the stories for me was, I'm trying to think, there's so many good ones. Actually, I'll rewind a little bit. I think one of the memorable ones is like a tool that they used. It's just like a lot of people talked about journaling and like, you know, meditating. And for me, like it's always been in the back of my head, like I'm gonna try and do it. But this year I actually started doing it, and like it kind of like changed my perspective and my mindset on a lot of things, and just being able to write it down. So that was like one big takeaway from our podcast and like talking to other people in the same space. One memorable moment was last year we were trying to find a Valentine's Day episode, you know, something about love and whatnot. And so we talked with Kaylana, and it was one of those things, we go into these podcasts not having like an agenda or topic we want to talk about, kind of just like really keep it open and be able to like talk freely. And so with this episode, it was like midway through, she was talking about like figuring out ways to like love yourself and the importance of like being able to love yourself before you can, you know, take care of others. And at that moment I was like, oh my gosh, Kolby, this is the Valentine's episode, you know? It's like not about loving others, but it's like about loving yourself and taking care of yourself before you can love others. So that was a big one.
We just recorded with Ivy Love, and she has a really inspirational story, but I think the message that I'm taking away is to just be your true authentic self. You know, I think especially as a young adult, it's easy to be influenced by other people, or even just wanting to please other people, please even like your parents, which is not a bad thing. But I think sometimes there's so many voices and so many people telling you who you should be. There's social media telling you who you should be, but to really take the time to know yourself and to love yourself, and then to be your most authentic self when you go out there into the world. Another story that we just interviewed, Kekoa Carvalho. He's the current Mr. Hawaii USA, and he talked about, you know, he's just tough boy from Eva Beach. You know, he's been in jail. He's like he's in sobriety, a recovering like drug and alcohol addict, and he is tough. You know, he walks a certain way, he talks a certain way, and he tried 2 times and he didn't win Mr. Hawaii. But he said, you know what? The judges would say, you know, you should try to talk like this, or you should be like that a little bit more. But he said, you know what? I'm showing up as myself, and I'm not changing, and you're gonna like pick me because you like me. And on the 3rd try, they actually flew him out to Maui, and they gave him the title of Mr. Hawaii. And they said, you know what? You deserve it, because you're out there in the community being yourself, telling your real authentic story. And I think that's powerful. And I think people desire that. They want to know who you really are. So I think you first need to know who you really are. And that's a lot of our episodes are around that, you know, about loving yourself and finding yourself and being truthful to who you are. And when you're in that power, then you can make magic.
I think my biggest advice is to forever be curious, you know, never stop learning. College isn't for everyone, or like, you know, school isn't for everyone, but like there's different experience or aspects of college that makes you, you know, who you are after college. Like, I don't know, like the networking or the connecting with people. It's like the experiences you experience in college, you'll never experience. It's hard to experience elsewhere. So really soak it all in, never stop learning, and don't be afraid to like reach out for help. Like, I think college is also a time where you're trying to find yourself, and I think especially in Hawaii, like, you know, people are willing to help and give back. So it's like, don't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to reach out. The biggest thing for me during my time of like growing, you know, and like figuring out who I was reaching out, like finding great mentors and like being able to connect with them, work with them, and build on my craft, figure out what I wanted to do, what I didn't like doing. And so yeah, never stop learning. Don't be afraid to ask.
So my advice to current students at UH is to take this opportunity to try out whatever and anything that might spark an interest. You never know, what you might become or might want to do. Sometimes I think, for me anyway, I was very tunnel vision. Like, I'm gonna do this with my career. I am gonna go to school for this thing that I want to do. And I never really explored anything outside of that. I knew I wanted to do something in art, but because I started on this path, becoming a broadcast journalist, I never did anything outside of that. I might have written for like the school newspaper, but I never explored like filmmaking, which is what I do now. And I wish I had taken advantage of more opportunities like that. I know UH has so many resources and so many people to be connected to. I would say now is the time where you can try all kinds of things, meet all the people. Once you get into a job and you're working a 9-to-5, it's just harder, I think, to like go outside of your job and try something different, or meet someone new, or have a conversation or intern somewhere that you might not think that you would like to do, but it might spark an interest. So I would say just take advantage of all the opportunities that UH Mānoa has for their students. And you never know, you might actually take to something and change your mind, and it's better to change your mind now than later.